Welcome to Hearts and Hounds, a social enterprise supporting individuals labeled with developmental disabilities. Did you know that out of 70,000 adults labeled with developmental disabilities in Ontario, approximately 14,402 people are on waitlist for government funding? Many of these individuals are people who have aged out of children's developmental services and are in the process of reapplying for adult services. Often aging out of children's services and reapplying as an adult means an abrupt termination in services which are replaced by a waitlist. Some implications of the lack of access to services that many individuals experience are caregiver burnout and family breakdown, financial and employment difficulties, and experienced isolation and boredom. With such clear and detrimental implications, we find ourselves asking, why is nothing being done? Enter Hearts and Hounds, a social enterprise that supports individuals labeled with a developmental disability. Hearts and Hounds is a non-profit organization that offers dog walking, pet daycare, and overnight pet boarding. Hearts and Hounds will be employed by and will be a space for individuals labeled with developmental disabilities who do not have access to government funding. Hearts and Hounds will operate as a social enterprise for a walk-in service for individuals labeled with developmental disabilities and their support networks. The walk-in service will be located in a separate office space within the same location. The walk-in service's mission is to be a point of contact for people currently without government funding and support, to support people to navigate the developmental service sector through brief case management and counseling services, and to not allow lack of funding to create isolation and the inability for people to continue living their life in meaningful ways. Hearts and Hounds has an overall goal of supporting people labeled with developmental disabilities to meaningfully participate in the workforce. Reducing levels of social isolation and boredom stemming from lack of access to service will be an overarching goal of Hearts and Hounds. Hearts and Hounds will be financed through a fee for service on a sliding scale based on income for the walk-in services, as well as through the revenue generated through the pet services. Hearts and Hounds will work to be an inclusive space to connect, share resources, and work with each other in meaningful ways. To implement Hearts and Hounds, we are seeking partnership between 6 developmental service agencies in Toronto to staff the walk-in service on a rotational basis. We are also seeking employees who have been labeled with developmental disabilities, are knowledgeable in pet services, and are committed to the mission of Hearts and Hounds. Hearts and Hounds is interested in measuring outcomes based on individuals' perception of isolation and boredom, connection to resources, ability to navigate the developmental service sector, the amount of time it takes for transitional age youth to apply for adult developmental services, the amount of information individuals applying for services receive, policy and procedure changes within the developmental service sector, and societal perceptions of people labeled with developmental disabilities. Thank you for your interest in Hearts and Hounds, an inclusive and welcoming social enterprise that hopes to support individuals labeled with developmental disabilities by addressing the lack of access to funding and services in an innovative way.